Well, I think burnout still has a negative connotation. So people aren't going to be as willing to admit it because of that. It has a stigma to it. You
Or
start
you don't
telling,
even know what it is. I had never heard that term when I started having those symptoms. I couldn't have put a label on it if I had tried because that term was not being used widely.
well, yes, but I mean, if you start talking about it to your friends and coworkers, they're not going to necessarily um, treat that in a good light, and that may cause even more stress by the time you're done. But
True. Especially in the corporate world. I mean, you're not going to come to your work and say, I'm burned out. I need a leave of absence. Excuse me.
Right.
Bye. I'll come back when I feel better. Right? It's not what's happening out there in the world. Although it probably should. I mean, we're supposed to have mental health days, right? But are you going to go to your manager and say, hey, I need a mental health day? I just can't make it through today
I've done that.
without blowing up in someone's face?
There was
How's
plenty
that
of times.
experience?
There was plenty of times where I've called in and said, mental health day.
You said, did you say specifically, manager, I need a mental health day today, therefore I'm not coming in?
Yes,
Okay.
it's your
Good for you.
PTO.
Okay.
The PTO is now
Well,
PTO and medical leave, so it's like it's your time.
But I will say a lot of people don't have that freedom or don't feel they have that freedom, even if they have PTO stacked up.
The difference is I was in burnout during that time, so I spent all my vacation almost as soon as I got it
Yes.
because my proclivity to be at work was less than my need to be there. So
Which drove me nuts, by the way, because I had weeks of vacation.
there's no way I could ever compete with that. She had like 10 days of vacation, a paycheck.
No,
It was over 8. It was 8 or 9.
8 or 9 hours. Yeah.
Yes, 8 or 9.
yeah.
No, it was 10 hours. It was 10 hours of paycheck. So she was getting almost a day and a half of paycheck. There's no way that 3 weeks, people that are getting 3 weeks of paycheck, vacation a year can compete with that. So she always had too much vacation. But anyway, we're
Squirrel.
moving
So
on.
is that
We're
a
moving on.
pre-indicator? No. You said something. Just let me follow through. I know you're going to burst my bubble here, but hey, just hear me out. So, is that a pre-indicator to managers that when your workforce is beginning to have zero PTO balance, that your workforce is burnt out?
It could be. I actually had an employee, so I was a supervisor for a while, and I did have an employee who had that situation. And then she was asking for, unpaid leave, and she'd been at the company for at least, I want to say, 10 years, which means she was getting pretty decent PTO at that point. It was at least, 8 hours per paycheck, and she never had PTO. We actually ended up letting that employee go. Um, when I look back now, she was actually going through an incredibly stressful time that none of us knew about with her family situation. Her husband was addicted to opioids. She was trying to deal with that, raise a family, work full time. She had a 2-hour commute, and we all missed it.
Mm, that's unfortunate.
There's a lot of time that people just view that as you don't want to be there, not necessarily that it's burned out. So, I mean, it kind of goes to you're either heading towards burnout or you really just don't like your job. So you can't necessarily just say anybody who doesn't ever have any PTO is burned out. So
Right, right. But I do think it could be a possible indicator if there's other things going on.
I think that yes, it should be something that should
Yeah.
be managers should start paying attention to. But